Hello everyone, I Shubham Jain from the team CLJ, a drive for sustainable corporate world, and you all are watching this channel for simple analysis of the critical information under corporate and commercial laws. This platform is created with vision to impart legal education in simple and lucid manner. Friends, today we feel immense pleasure to welcome Mr. Devopam Datta, who is the Managing Associate at Talwar Thakur and Associates. He has a rich experience in banking and finance practice. His practice area primarily focus on onshore and offshore banks, financial institutions, asset reconstruction companies, real estate investment trusts, and corporations over a wide range of cross-border and domestic banking finance transactions. He has been recognized as a rising star for banking and finance in India for edition 2020 of IFLR 1000. Before joining Talwar Thakur and Associates, he has worked with Clifford Chance, Argus Partners, MSP Steel and Power Limited. With this brief introduction, we feel great pride to introduce Devopam Datta for today's session.
Thank you, Shubham, for the introduction. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate Shubham and the rest of the CLJ team for this wonderful initiative, particularly during these testing times. This will certainly help in spreading knowledge on practical issues amongst the fraternity. I wish all the very best to Shubham and the rest of the team for all their future endeavors.
Friends, in this video, we are going to cover common legal issue which is faced by almost all the business community, that is practical approach towards execution of the commercial contracts during this unprecedented time. Friends, as we all are living in the new normalcy where things demand different solution, and we are fortunate enough to have with us Mr. Devopam, who is going to discuss all the practical approaches for execution of the commercial contracts during this tough time. His emphasis primarily focus on alternative ways available for the Indian companies to execute the contracts, which may be a bit different from the traditional approach where parties come, meet, discuss, negotiate and then execute the documents. In this video, we are primarily focused on execution of the commercial contracts from different modes, where he is going to touch upon Indian Evidence Act and the Information Technology Act. As I explained you earlier, he is coming from banking and finance practice area, so his perspective will be more based on financing transaction documents. I hope you all will like this video. Please subscribe our channel for our upcoming videos with eminent personalities. Thank you so much.
I hope all of you are doing well and staying safe during these unprecedented times. One of the major challenges that we have been facing during these unprecedented times is business continuity plans. Each of us are trying to find out creative ways in order to address issues, and what companies are facing is major concerns in terms of how to continue their business. One of the practical issues which came up during the earlier bit of the lockdown was how to execute contracts, because generally the way how it's done in India is by way of physical means, where parties meet in a room and they sign documents. With the social distancing in place and travel restrictions, that is something which wasn't possible, and companies were trying to understand that what are the alternatives. So today in this video, I would like to address some of the alternatives which various companies can explore in the current times. This is my personal view completely and not to be construed as any sort of advice on behalf of my firm. So when the question comes about how to execute a contract, it's best to go back to the basics what we have learned during our law school days. So contract, as per Indian law, it doesn't need to be in any particular form. It can either be in writing or concluded orally. To the extent the general principles of contract which we all know, things like offer, acceptance, certainty, consideration, to the extent these kind of things are met, we can execute a contract in any form. So generally what we have seen, as I have mentioned in the past as well, that in financing transactions, me being a financing lawyer, I would like to address from a financing perspective. In financing transactions, we see that parties prefer executing contract in a written manner given the complexity of the transactions and the huge number of parties generally involved in a structured deal. And the other major thing is about the evidentiary value of the document. So if you are having a signed document in place, that will be treated as a primary evidence under the Indian Evidence Act. So if tomorrow things go south, that will help to be proven in a court of law as a primary evidence. But during these times when social distancing and travel restrictions have been in place, and it seems that this will be the new normal in times ahead, parties have been wondering that what are the alternatives which they can explore. So one of the things which comes to mind first is exploring the digital option as recognized under the IT Act. So the first schedule of the IT Act sets out basically what are the kind of signatures which are acceptable, and just to kind of come to what are the modes of signature acceptable, it is first beneficial for everyone to understand that what are the kind of contracts you cannot execute in an electronic manner, which is set out in Schedule 2 of the IT Act. To give you some examples are, say, testamentary documents like wills, trust deeds, immovable contract related conveyancing documents, or documents which are compulsory registrable, say for example an indenture or mortgage in a financing document. So these are some of the kind of documents which you cannot conclude electronically. For rest of the things like a guarantee or a loan agreement, it is very easy to conclude that electronically. And as I was mentioning, the digital signature which is issued within the parameters of the IT Act by a recognized authority is something which is considered as a primary evidence, and people can obviously explore that option to conclude their contracts. To give an example is the digital signature which is issued by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and which most directors and company secretaries of big companies they have. So that is the first option, and as I mentioned that this will be treated as a primary evidence in a court of law. There are some other options also which parties can obviously explore, and to just set the tone, none of these are primary evidences. So one of the modes of execution can be taking a print of the document, signing the document in wetting and scanning it back to the other side, and when all these scanned pages are collated, so that can be circulated, and that can be also a valid mode of execution of contract. When you circulate the originals of the signature page, that original set becomes a primary evidence, whereas the electronic copy, that becomes a secondary evidence. So that is a very common mode of execution in international transactions where parties are located out of multiple jurisdictions. In India also it's becoming a popular mode, but then again in the times when people are working from home, some of the people may not have access to printers, and this may not be the most feasible option for parties to explore. One other thing what people have been doing, and which is also an acceptable mode of execution, is affixing JPEG signature images. So basically you sign your name and scan the image and affix that to the document in the signature block, and that's how also you can conclude a document contract, and this also perfectly works under law. Another option which can certainly be explored is electronic signature, which is not recognized under the IT Act. So there are certain third-party service providers which provide this service, whereby your electronic signature is generated. But since these are not recognized under the IT Act, these may be treated as a secondary evidence. But however, that doesn't render the contract illegal, and it's something which is becoming increasingly popular. Particularly over the last couple of months, we have seen some companies use this service and execute their contracts. Another mean, which is coming back to my point on the basics of contract law, that in Indian Contract Act, there is nothing particularly saying that what is the form or the mode of the contract should be till the time the basic principles are met. So that can be by way of an email acceptance. So to the extent the parties to the contract, the intended parties are showing the intention that they want to enter into the contract, and the party basically says that I accept the terms and conditions of this contract. Say a word copy is attached to an email and I respond to that saying that I accept the terms and conditions. So that will also be considered to be a valid contract. there are various precedents, including of the Supreme Court of India, which recognizes this mode as well by way of email communication. Just to draw a parallel, maybe like all of us in today's world, and particularly during the times of the pandemic, have been doing a lot of online shopping. So there, when you accept the terms and conditions, that's also literally entering into a contract with the service provider. So similarly, in case of a financial contract as well, say a document is coming from the bank and the borrower can very well write I accept in the email and they can conclude that contract. Again, this will be held as a secondary evidence in a court of law, but this will not render the contract illegal or void. One thing which must be borne in mind for all these electronic contracts is to minimize the dispute risk at a later stage. As a matter of prudence, one should exercise due care that they should ensure, since I cannot really see the person signing in front of me, what needs to be ensured is the correct person has actually acknowledged the contract, has accepted the contract. So when it's a contract between a bank and a borrower, in the bank's record, there will be the email ID of the authorized person from a borrower's side, or his signature will also be in the records of the bank. So what needs to be ensured from the bank's end is that the right person from the borrower's side has actually entered into this contract. So they can check it's coming from the official email address of that person, and also there can be other steps taken like having encrypted these contracts sent by way of encrypted emails, the acceptances sent by way of encrypted emails, or there can be OTPs generated whereby that OTP can be entered to ensure that the correct person is the one who's communicating with the bank. So that's something from a bank's perspective or a financial institution's perspective they should keep in mind from the perspective of minimizing dispute risk. So guys, one interesting point to note is that none of the steps that we just discussed is something which has been invented as a result of this pandemic. These have been in the market for a while. It's just that the need to use these or to explore these options have become more of a requirement or emergency under the current circumstances. To round this off, as you would all know that execution of a financial contract is never complete without stamp duty payment. And as we all know that stamp duty payment generally is done by way of three modes. One is by buying physical stamp papers from stamp vendors, or doing franking, or by way of payment through online modes. Now with the social distancing norm in place, the first two options are not that feasible, and we understand in most of the states in India, physical stamp papers are not also available of various values, or in fact the high values. So what has become important is, or the way forward also I would say, is to make payment through online methods. Some states have restrictions on this as well, that you cannot pay stamp duty under a certain threshold by way of the online method. And I believe like some of the states are also working towards like changing that, although nothing has come out officially, but that's what the buzz is. But the practical steps that Maharashtra has taken, they have come up with a circular whereby they have said all contracts executed during the period of pandemic can either be stamped within the first day after reopening from the lockdown, or you can take it for adjudication within a period of 1 month after the market reopens after the lockdown. So that's something that's always a welcome step what Maharashtra has done, and it needs to be seen that how practically this pans out. But yeah, like from a business community perspective, this has been welcomed with open hands. What needs to be seen is that how other states react. It has come to like the news is that some other states are also working on some of these practical measures and how to address this, but we haven't seen any notification yet. But it will be interesting to see that how they address this situation as well. So all in all, I would like to state that the situation is not that bleak as it seems to be. Like initially there was a lot of panic in the market, but honestly by following these few simple steps, people can take care of the execution of contract bid. And yeah, like with the social distancing norm and the travel restrictions to be in place for the near future and this becoming the new normal, I believe that people would now explore these options more, and this will also become the way forward. On that note, I would like to end my video and thank you everyone for all your time and patience. Thanks, take care, stay positive.